Okay, so here I have the case already cleaned up. The case is already repaired, and this is what I got. The whole gear train from the Mustang, and here's the overdrive section from that Mustang too. Got the two bands from the Mustang, the pump, complete pump. We're gonna open this up, we're gonna check it, and we're gonna start assembling all this into the case, into the Explorer case. And I got a new band for reverse. They always wear out and from the anchor, so this is, I had it soaking, but that's a new band for reverse. So we're gonna go ahead and stack this unit up. There's a little trick. There's actually a tool to get the servos in, but I don't use a tool. You know, I just there's a trick to get them in there. I'll show you the way I do it. I mean, I try to keep it as simple as I can on every single unit that I build. If I can do it without a tool, I'll do it without a tool. I mean, that's just the way I am, and that's the way I've done it for years. So, I mean, that's the way we're going to do it here. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get this thing out of the bench. We're going to assemble the rear part, you know, the rear planetary gear assembly all the way up to here. And then we're going to stand up the unit, and then we're going to continue assembling the whole assemblies inside the barrel of the case with the unit standing up. And right now we're going to put the output shaft, the parking gear, and this assembly here on the bench sideways. We'll stand it up and assemble it. All right, well, let me get this thing out of here. Let me get my things here situated, and we'll continue with it. Okay, so let's begin. Let's start with the low reverse band. Our low reverse band, I already pre-soaked it. This is the only thing new that's going to go in there, and everything to seal the front. Remember that this guy just want to get this transmission working, so that's what we're going to help him do. We're not doing a rebuild. For as much as I would have liked to have done it, we're not going to do it. Not on this transmission, but we'll do a rebuild later. But we're going to go through the valve body anyways. We're going to, you know, check the solenoid regulator valve and all that. Okay, so next this little bearing. We're going to paste it down there, and we see that we have our band already anchored on the reverse servo anchor. I don't think you can see it, but we already have it anchored. We're going to go ahead and paste our output shaft to case washer. Put a little bit of assembly lube there. We have our output shaft here, but what I'm going to do first, I'm going to install the reverse drum first. And here we have the assembly. Let's go ahead and get the snap ring off. Just make sure that the sealing ring, it's attached to it. Just keep in mind that we're swapping from one unit to another. Actually, I don't have the case for the other one, for the Mustang. Like I said, this guy sells parts, and he's helping out one of his friends that has a salvage yard that he gets cores from. So he tore it down, got me everything, the internals, all the guts for the inside for this unit, and that's what we're doing here, just swapping parts. All right, low reverse drum. Get it in there. Now we get the output shaft with the parking gear. Output shaft original from the Explorer with the parking gear. This comes off. Parking gear and the output speed sensor reluctor ring is part of the parking gear. Get it in here. All right. I'm just going to put a little bit of a tension on my output shaft so that it'll be easier for me to install the snap ring. So we already have our ring gear for our rear planet, and then we have the bearing from the case to the output ring gear already in the case. That's the first bearing that we installed in there. We need to spline it to the output shaft. Now we get our snap ring. Remember, we use these pliers here for the snap ring, output shaft snap ring. I'm going to get me a little long screwdriver. I want to see if I can be out of the way, open up the snap ring and then push it. Actually, I need to go in further. You see, okay, I am in. Let's go in. Okay, I put the output shaft, I've rested it on the wall itself because I needed the output shaft to stay put going this way to get my snap ring in there. So now we got our snap ring installed. Now we're going to put this little plastic cover that covers the snap ring. We already pasted one of the bearings there. Now we're going to get our reverse drum. I'm going to grab it from the snap ring groove with my nails. I'm going to go clockwise and pull. The reason I want to do that, I want to position it so that when I get this planet in there, I'll be able to get the snap ring in there. Now I'm going to get, let me get this closer over here, this assembly here. I'm going to get this bearing that goes in between here and the planet. I'm going to paste it right here on this planet. And now I'm going to go in with it. Remember the other bearing that rides here, it's already on the ring gear. Carefully, we'll get it in there, get it splined. And try not to push the reverse drum in, because you need to get your snap ring in there. Alright, so there we have the rear of this transmission, or the rear section already assembled. Now I'm going to go ahead and stand it up, and we'll assemble the rest of the transmission, the rest of the internals of this transmission into the barrel of the case. Okay, so this is going to go a little fast. I hope not that fast. I didn't get one of the sockets. Anyways, let me see. I'm looking for something. Hold that thought right quick. Okay, I'll probably just pause you. I'll put you on pause for that. Socket, I thought I had it in my hand a while ago, but I can't find it. Anyways, all right, let's continue with this. So now we have our sun shield that looks like this, right? So we're going to install this piece here first. Now we're going to install our sun shell. Get it in here. We have our front planet. This is what came out of the unit that they got. Lower our front planet. Our front planet has a bearing, and this is the way it goes with the fold going up. I'm going to paste it. And then he has this washer, brass washer here. It's lower down into the unit. Now this little bearing here, it has like a lip on it. The lip goes and sits on top of this. Now here's our forward drum. I have not checked the clutches yet, but let's go ahead and check them. I'm going to go ahead and take the snap ring off. Taking the snap ring off. They look in good shape. He probably already checked the clutches and all that stuff. I mean, he sent me the rear band because the band that came out of that Mustang was no good. So I'm trusting that he checked both sets of clutches. Well, all three sets of clutches. You got the overdrive coast, and then you have the forward. So this has 2 sealing rings here. Just make sure that they're in good shape. The older models, they're brass type, they wear, so you got to change them. There's a bearing that goes here in between the direct drum and the forward drum. Let's go ahead and paste that in there. A little bit of assembly lube. Now let's go ahead and lower this drum. Okay, we're in. Bottom out. This is our direct and reverse drum, which in this case is fourth and reverse. Let's check our clutches here. These are single-sided clutches. They look in good shape. Actually, these are double-sided on the Mustang, but normally you would see a single-sided frictions on this drum here. Let's go ahead and put it back together. So here's our drum, and I usually align it outside, both of them, both drums, and I'm a little oily because I didn't actually wash these parts here. It's going to be a little bit hard to grab. It is going down though. But what I can use here is the overdrive clutch hub. Let's remove this bearing. We don't want to lose it. We're going to use this as a tool. Get all of our clutches engaged. And it seems like it is engaged. One more clutch. Let's go ahead and try that again. Usually when everything's clean with no oil, goes in quick. And as you can see, we're already in there. The way to tell is that the drum is no longer flush with the sun shell. You look in there. Now the band. Yeah, I haven't cleaned it up, but this is the way we're going to put it on there. The band. I'm going to show you how I do it. Alright, so I'm going to get one of the anchors, which is this one here, and I'm going to paste it here. You're learning all these tricks for free, so make sure you, where I'm at, like it and subscribe too. And in my other hand, I'm going to have the one that goes on the opposite side. Alright, now pay attention to the way I'm installing this. Where's the camera at? You see the shape of it? This is the way it goes. Go ahead and drop it carefully, holding the band together. Now the other one, I'm going to go from the bottom side where the valve body's at. Well, the valve body's not on there. I'm going to get my adjuster bolt. I'm going to get it started so I can get my anchor on there. Now I can either install my servo or continue going up and the servo will still go in. As you can see, here is the anchor. The servo will actually, let me use this, I have this pin right here that I use whenever I repair the cases. If you see how I'm putting in the servo in where the servo pin where it goes, and once you push it in, it goes into place. So there is no risk of that thing falling off. I can leave that pin right there. I mean, if I want to. For now we install our center support. We're going to install this bearing first. Our center support, make sure that the two sealing rings are there. Actually, they left this here, and the socket that I needed was for this. What did I do to it? What did I do to it? Let me put you on pause right quick. Let me look for that socket. Wow, man. If this socket was to be were to be a snake, it would have bit me. It was right here next to me on the shop towel. All right. Let's go ahead and lower our center support. Remember, we talked about this right here. So let's go ahead and lower it. And there it went. Now what I'm going to do, here's the bolt that goes there. It's a Torx 30, and I'm using a Torx 30 long. I'm just going to get it on my socket like that with my speed handle, and I'm going to get the bolt through the case. Rotate this a little bit. Now I have the bolt through the case. Now I'm going to grab the nut. It's a square nut with a little cage. There we go. Started on there. I'm not going to tighten it up yet. I'm going to go ahead and lower the snap ring. Now on the early 5R55Es and 4R44 and 4R55, there's a speed sensor that goes here. And the opening has to be like this so that the wire could go out. On this one, it doesn't really matter. I mean, you could be at the 6 o'clock position or anywhere you want, actually. But there is a taper to the snap ring, and the taper goes up and the flat side goes towards the center support. Just make sure that your snap ring is fully seated. There we go. Now we can tighten up this bolt. There we go. Nice and snug. Now we're going to check the frictions on the overdrive drum. And they're in good shape. So I don't have to be moving the camera back and forth right there where you're at. I'm going to assemble this assembly. This is the overdrive section once you put the planet here with the hub. 5R55S, it's a large sun gear like this. 5R55W has a small sun gear. Okay, now we get the planet, get our bearing. This is our input sprag. We're going to lower it down like that, like so. Just make sure that this bearing is in here. Now we're going to assemble both pieces together. See how I got my finger holding the sun gear? I got my frictions in there. And on my other hand, I have this planet assembly already assembled. We're going to assemble both together. Holding the sun gear. There we go. We're already engaged. Now what I need, it's another bearing that goes here. We're going to seat this bearing there. Grab the whole assembly. Kind of guide it in there. We're in. Second and fifth band. We're going to do the same application here. I'm going to hold it like this. I'm going to get my green assembly lube. I'm going to grab my band anchor. I'm going to be ready with the other one. I'm going to lower it down. Now this one, it fits through the bottom, but the square is a little small, so we're going to go through here. There we go. Adjuster bolt. We're going to start it on there. There we go. Voila. Yep, it's that easy. Now we're going to get our input shaft. We're going to lower it here. Now we're going to get our assembly lube. We're going to put assembly lube where the O-ring needs to slide down. This is not a rebuild video, just keep that in mind. This is a favor that we are actually doing, not only me, but the guy that sells me hard parts. He wanted me to, help him out. You don't want to leave him hanging. He already spent 3 units on it. I mentioned that on the teardown video. I do have a new gasket and new pump O-ring. What else is in the bag? Got a filter, new filter, front seal, a used servo, and no pump bushing. Okay, we can do without. Alright, now, see this little triangle right here? See this little triangle right there? It cannot be easier than that. Alright, we're going to stop right here. I'm going to move the camera back to the bench, and we're going to work on the pump and the valve body, and then we're going to install the pump, install those servos after that, and then install the valve body. Okay, well, let's talk about the pump here for a minute. Now, I already cleaned it up, right? But I want you to look at the way the seal is installed. There is actually a like a recess, like a taper on the body itself, and this is where we need to put our new seal at. So we're gonna pop the seal out. Now remember that there was no pump bushing, so we're not gonna install a pump bushing on this thing. We're gonna leave the same pump bushing on there. And as you see, I already cleaned up my my pump, because I want to, since this is the only item that we're going to put some parts in, I just want to make sure that it's nice and clean, and the bushing is nice and clean. Whenever they put the torque converter in there, it's going to pick up the fluid good. And honestly, I don't want this unit to come back. I really don't want to work on this thing anymore. I know that it's not a rebuild. We just swap some parts from one unit to another, but we need to pay attention as to not do it again. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna lose time. I'm gonna lose money. I can't do that. So what makes sense to me is just try to kind of repair it as best as we can. Now we saw that yes, they were used parts that were put in there. This is not a rebuild. But I still repaired the case, because that's one of the main concerns. If I didn't repair the case, I would have the unit back. So another thing is that I already worked on the valve body. I actually have a video on the valve body on one of these things. You have to use your bench buddies to clean all the valves. And as you see here, this valve is already blocked. This is the cooler, or the cooler control valve. I do this on most all of them, and what you do there, you don't wait for the thermostatic valve to open up. And actually, when I was working on the valve body to do the flip, the valve did not want to go in. There was pieces of material still on there. Even though I had cleaned the bore, it was just so wore out that it had no cooler flow. So this is one of the main concerns of these units: no cooler flow, case wear, and solenoid pack issues. Now there is a valve that is the solenoid control valve, which is this. The manual valve goes right here, which is right here. Yes, it's dripping with with some lubrication. I squirt some of this stuff in there, and you know, to keep the valves free, you know, and lubricate it, you know, before they work. So it's kind of dripping in there. I think I put a little bit too much. Anyways, just bear with me, my voice is kind of going away. Here is the solenoid control valve. We got to clean it up with the bench buddies. We've got to make sure that this valve is clean. The reason I say this is that if this valve is stuck, you're going to be replacing solenoid packs for no reason. The reason why is when this valve gets stuck, it'll give you solenoid pack codes, solenoid pack performance codes, and you're going to be chasing ghosts. And that's not what I recommend. If you want to chase some ghosts, go to a haunted house. Not chasing ghosts on a transmission. You know, you're going to be chasing ghost codes. That's what we know them as, ghost codes. And a ghost code is solenoid performance, solenoid D performance, or stuck off. You say, well, okay, you know, that may be a band broke, but then you check the band, you check the servo, you check the case for wear, everything looks good. You say, okay, well, it's just a $300 solenoid pack, let's just slap a solenoid pack in there. You go for a test drive, and lo and behold, you have a solenoid performance code again. So where's the culprit? I would suggest you do that first and then chase the ghost. Sometimes that will fix the problems that you're having. Anyways, just bear with me, my voice is going away. I'm going to go ahead and remove our pump o-ring. We have a new pump o-ring for this thing. We're going to pop the seal out. And this is the way I popped it out. There we go. We're not doing anything to the bushing other than lubricating it. And actually, I got too much of that stuff, you know, dripping over here. It smells pretty good though, but I mean, this is another pump, so we're gonna go ahead and it has one of the pump bolt washers stuck on it. Let's take it off for now. Old seal. Remember what I mentioned? There is a tapered on there on the edge. We want it under the taper, and this is why. Here's the new seal. We have metal on the bottom, as you see here, and then we have seal on the outside. If you don't put this seal far enough in, it's not going to seal on the outside. And whenever that happens, either the seal is going to pop out, you know, with pressure, or you're going to have a front seal leak, and you're going to be like, man, I just put a brand new seal, but it's not all the way in. So we're going to take care of that. I'm going to use an oversized bushing driver. I am flush, but we want to go below flush because we want the side of the seal to go under the taper and create a good seal. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go with a smaller bushing driver, and I'm just going to tap. And I'm going to look at it. And this is exactly what we want. We want to be under the taper. So we got our seal in. Now we have our flow control valve. It is very common that this valve wears, but I tried to tell this guy, man, just give me one. I mean, you can get one from Sonics or one from Superior, or we can get a Transgo kit, you know, which it comes in it. But they're like, nah, man, just try to work miracles or whatever, you know, we don't want to spend any more money, just to, you know, try to make it work. I know I got the fan on, but there is a little step. You can barely feel it. Let me see if I can get it closer to the microphone. Hold on. I don't know if you heard that, but there is a little step in there. We're running a risk that this will be stuck open. When this is stuck open, it dumps the fluid out and the vehicle will not move. No forward, no reverse. Here's our pump gears. Outer pump gear. And the inner pump gear has an O-ring. Just make sure that the O-ring is there and you don't have no issues with that O-ring. Lubricate it, because whenever the converter gets in there, it needs to seal properly. Excuse me. This is our wear plate, pump wear plate. It's in good condition, it's in good shape. We're going to go ahead and align it. Drop it down like so. And then we're going to lower our pump cover. And we're going to look for the where the flow control valve goes. And we're going to align it and lower it. And we get our pump bolts and start installing them from the bottom. We're going to thread them all in just a little bit, maybe 1 or 2 threads. I know that we are putting too much attention to detail to this unit, which in reality, all we need to do is just make it work. That's what you get for buying a junkyard transmission anyways. That's what everybody says. But I don't like to work on the same thing twice, so the guy that bought this transmission had already pulled it out 3 times. I guess he's getting lucky. Oh, I forgot to mention, this comes on all the Transgo shift kits, and I install Transgo shift kits on every single one of these things. Alright, now the pump washer. Where's the pump washer? Here's our pump washer. And the pump has actually a number on there. You cannot go by the color sometimes, but it's a number 1 pump washer. I'm not sure. There we go. Number 1 pump washer. This is like purple or a different color. And it's a number 1 pump washer. So whatever came out, we're putting in. I know that I could put an H gauge on this thing, but that's not going to affect anything. At least not to this unit. If it was a rebuild, I would take the extra step, but I know for sure that it is not coming back for that, and it's not going to give me an issue for that. So now we lubricate the pump O-ring. It's actually a D-ring, but that's what we call them, pump O-rings. And it's very rare that you would have a true pump O-ring. Toyotas have pump O-rings. I mean, not even a turbo 350 or 400. They're all like this, like D or leaf cut seal. That's the proper word for it. But we call them pump O-rings. So we've been calling that for years, and I don't think that's going to change. All right, so there we go. Our pump ready for installation. Pump alignment tool from Transgo. Now let's go back to the transmission, install this pump, install the servos and the valve body, and we're going to be done with this transmission, and hopefully we'll be done for today. I know I had to throw this, I have another unit over here, but that wasn't there a while ago. Well, not a while ago, before we started filming, but now it is. I had to jump on that one. Now we're going to jump on you guys. All right, let's continue with this thing. Okay, let's try this again. Let's go ahead and install our pump. And if you remember the little triangle, we're going to align our pump on this pump bolt. I have just here a little punch, and here's our pump. We're going to put our punch through this hole, and we're going to align it on those threads. Now, why is this thing not... Is there something wrong with this thing? Let's see. Let me check my shaft. Maybe there's something wrong with the shaft, which it is. Hey, that's strange. Alright, just hold your horses there for a minute. I'm going to go ahead and mold that bushing. I don't know why that bushing got damaged, but it did. Okay, it's gonna go a little bit stiff in there. Probably they just dropped that thing with the shaft in there. That's probably what happened. What the? Yeah, already gone through. It's the bottom bushing. I'm not hitting it hard, I'm just tapping on it. See, there it went. Now we need to look for that bolt hole. Right there. Now we're going to get our speed handle. 10mm socket. Sorry about that. I mean, I was not expecting that. When you saw that, when I got the parts out of the boxes, the shaft was in there, so I mean it could have gone a little bit, that bushing got to be a little bit distorted, but we molded that bushing. So what you want to do here, it's go even with the pump. Just use 2 bolts to lower it down. Now we're going to get the rest of the bolts. We're going to get them in there. And they're already lined up, so you're not going to have any issues with it. We're going to use the same seal washers. Those washers seal the bolts. It is very rare that you would see one of those seal washers leak. We could put silicone on those washers, but it is not really necessary. But to be on the safe side, you wanna do it, you can go ahead and do it. We're just going to use a 12-volt impact wrench. We're going to snug them in. You don't want to use a 20-volt because you may strip them. I know what you're thinking. Why didn't you get your torque wrench out? I'm going to get it out to adjust the bands and the valve body. Get small tools like this to do the job without over torquing them, and not too loose, and you'll be fine. Alright, let's get this transmission, put the camera on the side, let's get our servos in, put this transmission on the bench and finish it. Alright, you ready? I'm going to get my special tool, but first I need to get this pin out. Remember the pin? This is our servo. Have it nicely lubricated. Now we're going to put it in here. And we're going to get my special tool, which is my hammer, the snap ring. Wait, what? A hammer and a snap ring? What did the book say? I don't know. I'm going to use this. All right, I got my screwdriver. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use my hip, bring it in, start the snap ring, use the other special tool, and put it in. Get the other servo, get it in here, my special tool, snap ring, get it in there. The other special tool. There we go. And that, my friends, is how you install servos without special tools. Use your special tools. I use my special tools. All right. Well, let's adjust the bands and install the valve body. Okay, so here we have our valve body, but now we're going to assemble our reverse servo. Just lubricate it, get it in here, get the cover, and there's some markings on it. Here it says open, and then you have 2 lines here. So we're gonna get the line, this arrow. We're going to go through here, and then we're going to put it in between these 2 lines. So we got our arrow. It says open. We're going to compress it clockwise, and we're going to have the arrow in between these 2 lines. There we have it. We have assembled our servo. Now we're ready to install our valve body, our servo assembly, our filter onto our transmission. So let's go ahead and put our transmission on the bench. Install. We'll torque the bands first. Adjust our bands. Install our valve body, our servo, transmission pan, and extension housing, and we'll be done with this unit. Okay, so now that we have our transmission on the bench, the first thing that we need to do is adjust the band anchors, and we're going to use a square socket. It's a 5/16 square socket, and we're going to put it on our torque wrench, torque it to 72 inch-pounds. 72 inch-pounds. I have this in memory somewhere. Let's see. 72 inch-pounds. Go ahead and torque them. .72 inch-pounds. I had already had them snug. 72 inch-pounds. Now what we're going to do, we are going to adjust them. I always do my new bands at 1.5 turns. This I will probably do, since it's the bands from that Mustang, we're probably going to do one full turn counterclockwise. So we have them set up at 72 inch-pounds. Now I'm going to put our original locking nuts. Get them closer in. Now usually they have a silicone on it, which it's still on there, but I'm still going to put a little bit of dab of RTV. We have a little bit of rust still on the pin, so it is very common that the pins on the solenoid pack get damaged because the AC water falls through here. As you can see, a stain here, puddles up here, and then it runs out. So solenoid pack failures are very common. External wiring connector, it's also common because of that issue. Let me back up a little bit here so I can put some silicone in there. Here's some RTV. And this RTV silicone that us transmission guys get, we get them from TranStar, and it's specially formulated for the fluid, for it won't have like a chemical reaction with the transmission fluid. So it is very important that if you use any RTV sealant on your transmission, just make sure it's compatible with the transmission fluid. Like I said, we get this from TranStar. All right, so we are kind of snug. Now we're gonna go 1.5 turns is what I normally do. We're gonna do 1 turn. So we're gonna start, this square is pointing in that direction. That's 1 turn. Check our output shaft. It should turn freely clockwise with both hands. It feels a little bit heavy. I normally do my new bands 1.5 turns. So let's go ahead and do the half. That's a half turn. Right there. Feels a little lighter. And now we can tighten up our nuts. And we'll do the same thing here. We're going to do 1.5 turns. That's what I do on new bands. I was going to do 1 turn, but I feel more comfortable with 1.5. That's just the way I feel about my bands. And there we go, 1.5 turns. Now I do have a video on the introduction of this unit, and I installed a Superior valve body kit or a transmission kit from Superior transmission, you know, the Superior valve body kit. And on their instructions, you go 1 turn. I'm going to put a link down below. You can use that kit. It comes with front loop circuit, you know, to have more front lubrication on this transmission. That's a big issue. No cooler flow, cold. It's the way it is designed, but sometimes you get debris and you have no firm lubrication or no cooler flow, and it just wipes out the transmission, planets, everything. So it is very important to do something to it. Like on this unit, we didn't do nothing to the valve body, but I still did something to the cooler flow control valve, which is this one right here. And this vehicle here, because it's been the 3rd unit wiped out, it's going to take an external cooler. I mean, it's just the buyer from the transmission, you know, the one that bought it from that junkyard, he's going to have to do it. Otherwise, he's going to end up wiping out the transmission again. But anyways, all the precautions that we have taken to eliminate for this transmission to coming back has been taken care of. As you already saw, I mean, they just asked to just swap one thing to another, but we actually repaired the case. It was severely worn, as you saw the Overdrive band, which is 2nd and 5th, was completely wiped out. It was black. I mean, it was just pitch black. All right, so let's go ahead and install our valve body. Now I got a bunch of bearings here that were left over from the other unit. All right, let's get this. So we got 2 long bolts. As for the filter, the short bolt goes here. Let me get our 8mm situated here. Let's get that closer. Now we're going to look for the 10mm bolt that goes here. That's basically going to be our 2 guide bolts. Just a little snug. Snug them up a little bit. Now we're not going to put our D10 roller yet. We're just going to install 1 bolt there. which actually this was the bolt for that. The one that has the empty guide and the one with straight threads is the one for this. So snug them up, gather all of our bolts. And start installing all of our bolts on her. They're all the same. The rest of the bolts are all the same. Same length. All right. Got one more over here. And it looks like that's it. We have 2 filter bolt locations here. Let's go ahead and get our speed handle and snug them up a little bit. You will find that the spacer plate is kind of a little bit warped. I mean, that's how it is naturally. So when we run our torque wrench, you know, in a little bit, some of the bolts are going to be kind of like loose. That's the way it's going to feel, because that's because of the shape of the spacer plate, which is no big deal. I mean, that's the way it is. That's where you need to torque your transmission valve bodies. So I hope that this video is going to help on the assembly process, you know, for this type of unit. I know that some of you guys asked for a rebuild for this unit, and I will do a full rebuild. Actually, on the video that I just mentioned, with the superior kit and introduction of this unit, I mention and show the clutch clearances and, you know, torque specifications that we go through there, and so you can get to know this unit better. I would suggest that you watch that video and this one, and then I have another video where I'm working on the valve body. So I'll put the 2 links for those 2 videos, you know, down below, so that it'll be like 3 sections for the same unit. In other words, finish watching this one and then go to the description down below and look for the other 2 videos. All right, well, let's torque this thing. Usually I just go from the center out. I mean, there's really no, there is, but usually, I mean, that's the way it kind of works. It feels like I'm not going much in. I'm doing 9 pounds, which is 108 or 110 inch-pounds. It's a real long torque wrench, so I'm only going maybe, what, a quarter of a turn after I snug them up. These Ford Explorers, especially the 4Rs and the 5R, the E models, if you over torque them, they'll have like wrong gear starts, they'll slip, they'll flare, they'll do all kinds of crazy stuff, and just by not torquing the valve body. This is a little bit more, doesn't give you that much of an issue, but it still does. I guess it's the shape of the valve body and the way it is designed. It really needs to be torqued correctly, otherwise some valves will hang, and I mean, usually when it gets warmed up, you know, metal expands and contracts. All right, let's get our 10. It's right here. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and detent roller. Detent roller. Here you go, man. This doesn't really matter because the valve next to it is the manual valve, so you ain't gonna hang that up. Okay, now let's get our reverse servo, install it. Like I mentioned, this is going to have to take a cooler, external cooler. I'm going to tell them that they cannot risk this unit to being destroyed again. A lot of people, they buy it from the junkyard, you know, and they, let me see, 9 pounds, yeah. They really don't think that it has nothing to do with the cooler or the radiator, and they just ignore it. But that actually can void any type of warranty, even if these guys are giving them 30-day warranty or 90-day warranty. I have no clue how much warranty these guys will give you. They'll give you another unit, but they'll get to the point that, hey, you know, you're doing something wrong. And it's going to end up, you know, that's the way it is. All right, a filter. Let's get the filter on there. Alright, let's see here. Lube it up. Some aftermarket filters like this one. This actually has a good part number on it. SPX filters are real good. There's some aftermarket filters that you really have to kind of guide them in because they're kind of like distorted a little bit. And whenever you tighten them up, you gotta kind of hold it in place, but this one seems like it did good. Let's get our 8mm and just check here right quick. Okay. Yep. Looks like a good legit number. Some of them will say made in, I don't know, some other countries. Don't get me wrong, they're good filters. It's just that you have to kind of like guide them on the 2 holes and press on it and then tighten up your bolts. But they work good. It doesn't matter the brand or whatever. It feels like this because we're compressing the filter. There we go. We're in the same scenario here. All right. Transmission range sensor. We're going to do the solenoid back here in a little bit. I'm just going to tell you what I'm going to do to the solenoid pack so I can just clean them up the best it is. You know, we're rerunning solenoid pack for this unit. Transmission range sensor, you might want to make sure that you are in neutral. That's neutral position. And here, you want to make sure that these 2 lines are aligned. See on the yellow circle and then on the black, that's neutral. And if you paid attention, that's what it says there, neutral. So we want to drop it in here and eyeball it, make sure the line with line. Perfect. Now we look for the bolts, that's 1. That's the speed sensor bolt. Right here. That's 2. Let's get the socket. Snug it. Snug it. Torque is not really that important on that. All right. This is where the cable connects to on the linkage lever. The nipple goes up and this thing goes towards the top This one, yeah. Just hold it, tighten it up. All right, well, let me go ahead and get our valve body. Our solenoid pack. I'll be right back. All right, so here's the solenoid pack that we're going to use. We're going to use, it's actually from a 2009, but there's two types of solenoid packs. 02 to 03, and then 04 and up. As we saw on this unit on the tag, it's a 4L2P, so that's a 04, actually an 05 Explorer. And this one here has the part number stamped on it. It's a Bosch solenoid pack, 9L2P, that's a 2009. So all the parts that came out of, that we installed in this unit are from a 2009 Ford Mustang. And it was in real good shape. What I'm still going to do, I'm going to knock off these little 3 caps. I'm going to take the filter off of the solenoid pack. And I'm going to clean this in my solvent. And I'm going to blow air, through there to get most of the junk that's already trapped underneath these caps. And most of the time that works. These 3 solenoid packs, they do get stuck inside. There are little bushings that you can purchase to rebuild them. You can rebuild these solenoid packs if all the electronics are good. But it is very common whenever you have like EPCC or EPCD. Those are the very 2 most common codes. And what you have delayed reverse engagement with the bang and problems with 4-gear upshifts, and sometimes you try to rebuild them, and sometimes they just wore out. So it is a good idea to just replace it if you're doing an overhaul. It's $300, I know, but they got to go in. All right, let me get this thing cleaned up so we can get it installed. Okay, so here we have our solenoid pack. I already have it cleaned up. You have 3 pressure control solenoids. As you can see on the inside, they have a little, not the Allen or the hex screw, but there's another one down deep below, that little bushing there. I think it's like a Torx 20. You measure this with the depth micrometer, then you get the thing out, and then you can install new ones in there, or actually use a drill bit, kind of like we do with the AW's solenoids to clean the little bushings. We can do that on these 2. Or we can replace all 3 little bushings, but you have to measure with a depth micrometer the depth of those little bushings. Otherwise, you're going to mess with the calibration of the solenoid. They are calibrated a certain way, so the way you take them out, that's the way you put them in. I leave the caps off. These are pulse width modulated. The little pintle is going to be moving inside that little bushing, and all the debris is not going to be trapped in there. See, this is the little cap. So there's trash that gets trapped in there. So if you leave this off, it'll kind of like wash it out. I never run this filter in solvent. This little filter has like silicone embedding on it. If you get it wet with solvent, it'll swell and it'll make this filter no good. It does come in the overhaul kit, but like I said, we're not doing an overhaul of this unit, so it's very clean. There's something on in the filter. Just get it running water, and then blow it off with your air. This is very clean. That was a very clean unit, so we're not going to do that with this. Now we put our plate back on. Move up the O-rings. You have to check your pins. Like I said, water intrusion, you get moisture in there, you get corrosion. I've seen pins gone that are extremely corroded. You disconnect the solenoid pack and they're missing, but they're inside the connector. So you got to replace the external connector and the solenoid pack when that happens. And that is a common issue. I don't know why they designed it that way, that the AC dripping, the sweat, it goes through here and it just puddles in there. So that is a big issue. And that's a big issue that we have to deal with. That's an issue that now you know. Torx 30. I'm going to use the same socket. Get them snug. Get them snug first. And then we torque them. It's going to be the same thing. 108 inch-pounds or 110 inch-pounds. Minimum 100 inch-pounds, but we're going to do 9 pounds. Because we already have it set up as that, at there. Alright. We're set up. And that one right there. Attaboy. Pan gasket. That's a reusable pan gasket. Our pan. And our bolts. These reusable pan gaskets, actually the new ones are a little thicker. They have torque limiters, so you cannot distort the pan itself. Unlike cork gaskets, you have to be very careful. If you run your impact wrench on a cork gasket, you're running the risk of damaging the pan. Then you're going to have some leaks from the pan, and that's something you don't want. Now these later model units, they don't have a way to fill them up anymore. So what we do, let me put the pan back on. Here's the level. I'll show you that. The little Torx 30, we're going to loosen that up. We're going to loosen that up and have it ready for them so they won't have an issue stripping that. Because they will strip it. Okay, let's go ahead and try and loosen this. Let me get a ratchet right quick. Sometimes it is very, very tight, but not on this one. It has a standpipe. I should have shown you that, but the standpipe is actually the level. So we're going to leave this loose. It's just a torque screw. And let them know that this thing is loose. This is actually the level. So you go drive it, get it nice and warm, and then you take that off. And you should have like a steady stream coming to a, you know, kind of like a slow stream. Once you see the slow stream, you're full. You put that thing back on. So now we got that loosened up. Now what we're going to do, we're going to remove this sensor. Put a lot of Loctite on it. I'm going to take the sensor off. Should come out. What we're going to do, we're just going to lube it up, the O-ring. This is going to be your fill hole, so they can take it out, you know, easy. Put that bolt back in. I'm going to tighten it up, but at least they're going to know that they're going to fill it up through there. I tighten it up just in case they forget or they do something different. So there we have it. Now I got the extension housing in the cooker. I need to go get it. Okay, so I have my extension housing here. We're going to install our parking pole. We're going to seal this with the RTV. Let's not forget this. This goes right here. And the purpose of this is that on high inertia, this is going to be against your drive shaft, and it's going to make some type of a seal in between the output shaft and the drive shaft itself. The faster you go, the more pressure it does on the drive shaft. All right, let's install our parking pole. Put our pin. Drop our spring. Parking pole. This is what's going to engage your parking mechanism. You want to go right there, like that. Our parking rod is going to go in here, and that's what's going to actuate your parking. Like I mentioned, you got the parking gear on the output shaft. Get some RTV. It's not really necessary to go around the bolts, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. There we have it. A bead of RTV silicone on there. We're going to guide our, this comes from our linkage. Guide that in our parking pole, and then our pin into the case right here, into the case right there. Attaboy. Install our bolts. There we have it. There we have it. We have finished this 5R55S. That's the way it looks. You can actually see the stains from the AC, all that moisture that condenses through the evaporator. And you have the drip hole right on top of here, and it just drips, and it creates a lot of rust. Actually, this anchor lock nut right here, the bent anchor, when I take them off, I go in and out, you know, a bunch of times, you know, to get the threads kind of like cleaned up a little bit. But you will find that sometimes it's just seized together, especially if you live in the Rust Belt up north, where, I mean, you put salt in the winter on the roads, and it's just, I mean, it bolts break, and it's just it's a nightmare sometimes. There we have it, 5R55S, ready to go back in. And customer needs to install a cooler. Otherwise, I mean, I'm thinking that it's going to be imminent failure. Another thing that I need to mention to you guys is that the breather, it's inside here in the bell housing. If you overfill this transmission, it's going to leak through here. It's going to wet the bell housing on the inside, and you're going to think that you're going to have a front seal leak when in reality the fluid is coming up through here. So what I do on most of my rebuilds, I just get it up like that, get a tie down. Hold on just 1 second. Up here in the bell housing we have a hole. I just tie it up right there. Keep it on the outside. If it's going to leak, it's going to leak to the outside. Actually, I'm going to keep it on this side of the case. If it's going to leak, it's going to drip through here. It's going to drip to the driver's side. Remember, if we leave it on the passenger side, we still have a hole here. It's kind of high, but it can still manage to get in there. So there we have it. You know, some tips and tricks on this 5R55S, W and N. Those three units are this type of a shape. The 5R55E and 4R55 and 4R44Es are the smaller type, the early type units. All right, my name is Hiram. Click like, subscribe, and thank you for watching.